Hi, my name is Keesha.
Hi, my name is Shari, and we are your guides to an enlightened pathway. Come join us on a weekly quest to awaken your mind.
Welcome back to the Enlightened Pathway. My name is Shari, and I'm going to discuss the anxious preoccupied type that is underneath the attachment theories that we've been talking about, and that to just brush over what we discussed because it has been a while. John Bowlby is a psychiatrist that developed the attachment theory, and it explains how children develop different attachments to their caregiver, to their parent, which then you can see as an adult when they become in a relationship, when they start to date. So we went over that. And we also went over the secure attachment. We went over the avoidant, dismissive avoidant. Keisha went over that. And now I'm going to go with the third type, which is the preoccupied anxious. And it is the exact opposite of the avoidant in what Keisha talked about. This anxious type fears the loss of connection, loss of a deep connection. And the reason why that became about is because they had a loss in their early childhood with a parent. Either the parent abandoned them, or that the parent died, or the parent was inconsistent in their behaviors, and it caused the child to become confused and insecure since they didn't know what kind of behavior to expect. The signs of an anxious attachment child is crying that isn't easily consoled or soothed, becoming very upset when a caregiver leaves, clinging to their attachment figures, exploring less of the room in the stranger situation experiment that they had. And this is usually a child with similar age that they explore the room. But this one, the anxious type, they will not explore the room. They just barely explore it. And they appear generally anxious, not interacting with strangers, having problems regulating and controlling negative emotions, displaying aggressive behavior and poor peer interactions. Signs of an adult with this attachment are difficulty trusting others, having low self-esteem, worrying that their partners will abandon them, craving closeness and intimacy, being overly dependent in relationships, requiring frequent reassurance that people care about them, being overly sensitive to a partner's actions and moods, being highly emotional, impulsive, unpredictable, and moody. Now, an adult with the anxious, preoccupied type will jump from one relationship to the next because without a cherished connection, they feel like it's death, like they're dying. And they will say things like, "Without you in my life, I would die," or "You are my everything." And at the time, it might sound endearing and, make you want to swoon or, say, "Oh, this person really cares for me." But they actually mean it. They might even threaten self-harm or, to hurt themselves in order to keep the relationship. And they will do these manipulation tactics, in order to just be passive aggressive in order to keep the relationship. And they will say these things and do whatever it takes in order to keep the relationship. So unconsciously, the anxious type person will go through the pain of being without their significant other just to control them, just to perform a manipulation, just to see if the person will miss them, just to see if they are hurting like they are hurting to be without them, and it's kind of like the push-pull type of treatment that you see in relationships, or that if you've been in a relationship, I'm pretty sure that you have experienced. It's very common that the person will push you away, they'll ignore you, kind of ghost you, but then they'll come back and they'll try to pull you back in. They do it primarily to push you away so you'll become anxious and miss them, so that pulls you back in. It pulls you deeper in and closer to them. And that's one of the tactics that this anxious type will use. And also, they're very obsessive. Even without knowing you or that person or the significant other, they will fantasize. They kind of obsess. And one of the things that if you know the movie The Notebook, Noah obsessed over Allie. Before he even met her, spoke to her, he was like saying he had to have her, and he was staring at her at the carnival. Then he went and jumped on the Ferris wheel in order to be with her. And he almost, was threatening to harm himself by committing suicide by hanging from the rail of the Ferris wheel. So she'll go out with him. So she'll admit to go out with him. That's what I'm talking about as far as an anxious, preoccupied attachment style that is very dysfunctional. It's toxic, kind of. Not kind of, it is. So they will do those type of things because they have a low self-esteem. And because of their low self-esteem, it blinds them of the other person or the person that they're with, their flaws or any red flags that come up in the relationship, because they have built this fantasy and they don't want anything to deter them from this fantasy of being with this person and having this deep connection. And they will also say that they will be anything and do anything or change just so that person will be with them. That's another manipulation that they will do. So they'll say or ask you questions and find out what type of person that you like or what you like to be with, and they'll try to develop and be that person. But usually, after a while, your true self will come out, and then that's when arguments and confusion sets in, because the person doesn't know who they were with, and it was all an act, it was all a mask to continue on this fantasy, this facade, just to be in a deep connected relationship. So that I know a lot of people might have experienced, because it's like, okay, you're like, who am I with? After so long, you thought that you were with this person that was perfect for you, or that displayed a certain type of thing or certain type of belief, and then now you're with somebody totally different that is the opposite of what they claim to be. And it was just because they were trying to please you to get into a serious relationship, because they wanted to live their fantasy. Okay. They tend to cling tightly to the relationship or to that person. That clinging eventually turns into suspicion, and then they will drive that person away, confirming what they believed all along, that the person wouldn't be there. Their low self-esteem makes them feel like they're perfect. Someone will never really love them and will want to leave. They won't be with them for very long. So that is something that you can see in somebody who has this anxious, preoccupied characteristics. And some of us might have these things that I'm talking about, but it's at what level do you have these things? Is it disruptive to a good relationship? Does it cause problems in a relationship? So, and I said that early on, you can have multiple of types of variations of these types that we're talking about. You can have become secure, and then also have something that happens, and then you slip into this anxious type or into the dismissive avoidant. So just when you see these things, question yourself, how much of these type do you have? Is it disruptive when you're in a relationship? Does it cause the relationship to have problems? Is it repetitive in your relationship? Do you see it in more than one or in 3 or 4 relationships that you've been in? Have you seen this come up and the outcome be a destructive one? So the other thing that I need to talk about is that the anxious type, they will definitely observe, watch, cater to you. They're very passive aggressive at times. They will say things and not be able to hold up their part of the bargain. And everything that they're doing is just because they want the relationship. It's all about that deep connection that they did not get as a child, and that they're trying to get in a relationship. It's something that has never been probably addressed and is running subconsciously. And that's what we were talking about as far as strongholds and generational curses, because it's going from the parent to the child, and then the child reacts a certain way because of it. And it's like throwing a rock in a pond, and you see the ripple effects, because it goes from generation to generation, causing a generational curse. So these are the foundations that we're trying to talk about to try to get you guys to some answers of why you do the things that you do, why the relationships don't last, and for you to question and to see where that foundation, where that root is, to pull it up, to change it, to become more healthy in relationships. Because that is the main thing. Being in a relationship is the main thing that keeps us from being totally about ourselves, being so selfish. We come in here innately being selfish, and the only way to get rid of that selfishness is to care for somebody else, and that's through a relationship. The ultimate is being a parent. When you're a parent, you do not care for self. You care for that individual so much more. And like I said before, being a parent, your child does not come with an instruction manual that caters to that child. You can do things thinking that you're doing it correctly, but somehow or another you might mess it up, and then this child becomes one of these attachments, an anxious attachment, a dismissive avoidant. Hopefully they will be secure, and after learning that okay, I might be an anxious preoccupied type, but if I do these things, then I can become a secure type, or more secure. Now the solution for anxious of preoccupied is to form a hobby that is about self, that doesn't deal with relationships, because you're so into the relationships and dealing with the relationships. You need to do something just for yourself, something that is an outlet where you don't have to identify with your self-worth on other people, or that you're getting some type of gratitude or approval from another person. It doesn't depend on that person. Something that you can do as a hobby, reading, fishing, go fishing, or something that you can do that is just yourself. Learning a language, just something that it helps you get the confidence that you need to be secure in the relationships that build up your low self-esteem, your low self-image, and that you will be more confident, and you will slowly wean yourself out of this anxiety. Maybe get some counseling too, to help with dealing with the loss of a parent, or that the parent wasn't there as they should be, and therefore that's where your anxiety is coming from. So you may deal with that, and maybe with just your understanding why, it might help lessen the anxiety. Well, I want to say thank you for tuning in, and hopefully that you will like or leave comments on all of the things that you have learned from us. And please, please, please stay safe, and hopefully you are on this pathway, on this quest, and it is helping you to become enlightened. Have a wonderful day.